Hey everybody, it's Odie Coyote. Welcome to Honky Tonk Saturdays here on Mixed Country 106. Today is the day we've been building this thing up. It's probably not a big secret by now, but just the same, if you kind of been not listening this last week or even the past couple weeks, we have been hyping up Mr. Jaret Ray Reddick, and today is the day. We have him with us. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the one, the only, Mr. Jaret Ray Reddick. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. We're finally doing it.
Yes, sir. This is amazing. We just got through Thanksgiving, so my belly is absolutely gorged still, but you know what? I'm doing it. I hope you're going
right?
to... Yeah.
Loosen the little bit and, for the drive home. And
yeah. Doing it. Oh, if you're listening to this on the drive home from Grandma's, oh, man, this is going to be the best place for you to be listening right now. But anyway, so we've got this. We've got you for like our whole hour show for this part. This is cool. And Jaret is my co-host today. So, Jaret, again, if you've got anything you want to hear, remember, you're DJ now too. So when we get it done, we're going to play whatever you want to play, man.
That sounds good to me.
Sounds good. All right. No further ado. The folks, I'm sure they have questions that they would like me to ask you. So let's get to them. All right. First thing, I got to know. Elephant in the room. How does a guy like you, who, for those of our listeners who don't know, had a very successful punk rock group, I don't even know if it's punk rock. It sounded like alt rock, but it was the kind of rock that you get you through high school because you were in Bowling for Soup, a name that should not be understated. You were also had hits, 1985, Almost. You had Ohio, which you remade. We're going to talk about that, right? And then we got a bunch of new stuff now we're going to talk about. But how do you go from Bowling for Soup, punk rock, and you still look like a punk rocker? I'm not even going to lie, man. That look is sick. I could never grow out my hair like that. It just wouldn't look right.
Right. Yeah.
But how do you do it? How did you do it?
A transition to country, you mean?
Yeah.
It's very easy, actually. I'm from Wichita Falls, Texas. Country is king there. I grew up in the urban cowboy era. So before I found, the music, which was kind of what I guess we would consider 80s metal, was really what got me into wanting to be a musician, and then later punk rock. Before that, I listened to country music, and so so it's always been a big part of me. Waylon and Willie and Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton. That's what my parents listened to when I was growing up. And and musically, it's just very similar. I think the kind of music that we play is considered pop punk. 4 chords, a story, and a little bit of harmony on the chorus, and you got your song. And so it's not as big of a departure as it might seem. And it's funny because so many guys that I grew up playing with or touring with or whatever are now in Nashville writing country and all of that. So I think that they're just sort of it's all, I guess, it all derivative of the blues, or how whatever your thoughts on where all this music came from. But I mean, it was is a very simple transition, something I always wanted to do, and the pandemic, and lockdown afforded me the time to bear down and do it.
Yeah, I think when you have a lot of time to yourself and you're really reflecting, and you can't go out and do shows during the pandemic, it's all locked down and it's just not happening. I mean, so I was watching some other interviews, and you had a chance to just kind of really reflect. And I think you had mentioned in another interview that, you just sort of had this sort of, I'm going to paraphrase here, but it wasn't your exact wording, but basically like this change of emotion, like you just had these other ideas and things that you want to get out. And it was sort of like, I think you called it like seasons in life, things just kind of evolve and change. And you were, like you said, you were reflecting on your roots. Yeah. So when you're talking about writing a country song versus a rock song, how did the writing process for you start to change? Because your Bowling for Soup stuff was great, and I do feel like a lot of that told stories. It was relatable. It felt, it felt to the same way to the listener in my mind for some of the stuff that they're probably going to. So going to country basically does the same thing,
Yeah.
storytelling. What was different about that songwriting process, though?
Funnily enough, I did them both at the same time. I was writing a Bowling for Soup record that is out now called Pop Drunk Snot Bread. Sorry, it's easy for me to say. Um, and so that album I had just written, and we had recorded that when I started thinking about the country thing. So the process is pretty much the same. It's a concept for me. People ask a lot, do you write the words or the melody, or do you write the music first? Very seldom for me personally as a writer is the music first, which is, I think, why Bowling for Soup and my country stuff is it's pretty simple musically, because really the music is written around the concept and the vocal. And so I'll start singing something and then I'm just kind of playing along to it. So yeah, very similar in the writing process. The difference, I guess, the biggest difference is I had a producer on Just Woke Up, which is my country album, and a co-writer. His name's Zach Malloy, and he's a Nashville writer, and he's the singer for the band The Nixons, which had a huge hit in the '90s, and they're still touring today. And so we did this record together. We've longtime friends, and he's sort of the one that really, kicked my butt and said, "Hey, we're going to do this. You've been talking about it way too long. We got the time. Let's do it." And so the process was the same in that it's laying down ideas, writing down lyrics, but instead of it being just on my computer and me working on it, myself, me and Zach just basically wrote the whole thing over text message. And in about 3 weeks, and it was just passing back lyric ideas, and then somebody would run with one, and then a musical idea would come. And as I said, this record, it sort of just existed in the internet, or the cloud, in texts and Google Drive and Dropbox. And then one day, and then it came time to record it, and we just got in the studio and did it. And so yeah, it's a similar process as far as the writing is concerned, but just kind of did it a different way as far as just bringing in Zach to help and this thing together.
Has the album's been out since March, and my question for you is, you're almost 9 months into this album being released. Has it performed and done what you hoped it would, or do you still have goals, or was it just a launch pad for even bigger projects in country music?
So a little bit of all of that, except for there's no disappointment at all. It's doing, I mean, so much better than I could have imagined. I mean, my first single was just kind of just like an intro to get everything out there, called Songs About Texas. But we really didn't work it super hard. And then my next single, One of the Good Ones, went top 30 here in Texas, and it just, I blew my mind. And now Drunk as It Takes is climbing the Texas charts as well. And so every day the listenership is growing, and you have to, for I don't really, people, if you know me, people will tell you, I don't have an ego, and I'm just I'm a normal guy. I think that's why people love Bowling for Soup so much, is because we just sort of seem like, oh, if those guys can do it, because we're just normal dudes,
Yeah.
with interesting hair, or eyebrow piercings and tattoos, but I mean, if you meet us, you're just like, they're exactly like you think they would be, and that's, who I am. And so, it's not hard for me to go from doing, millions and millions of plays for a song in Bowling for Soup every time we release something, to, a few thousand here and there, for my country stuff, Jaret Ray Reddick. I'm just happy to be doing it, and I have to sort of like, I keep telling myself, like, hey, you're doing this for fun. Don't stress out about things. Like, don't stress out about the Bowling for Soup stuff. That's what pays the bills for everybody. That's the stuff that you could stress out about. But country, let's just enjoy this ride. And I've done pretty good about
Yeah.
that actually. And it's going really great though.
Have you been welcomed into the Texas country music
Yeah.
family of artists, shall we say, and that really the almost a separate economy of country music. It doesn't even
Yeah.
click in mainstream country music radio. Have you been well received and welcomed into it?
Everybody's been so nice to me. And I was told, going in, like, hey, this is a clique. They're sort of like their own thing. And don't be surprised if you have to, this, that. It What I've found is many of these guys and girls are fans of Bowling for Soup, whether, as you and I discussed earlier, maybe they listened to us in high school or whatever.
Hmm.
And so it's been very welcoming to me, both from the radio side of things to the artists to the venues. So yeah, I mean, I just did some shows with John Wolfe and Kevin Fowler. I'm in talks with Casey Donahue to do some stuff, and of
Whoa.
course I've got Cody Canada on my album. So um, just I did Bree Bagwell's CD release at Green Hall recently,
Mhm.
and sold that thing out. So um, yeah, just very very welcoming, and it's a really really nice group of people, and so I'm just having a ball.
All right, so not to put you on the spot, Jarrett, but if you could have an artist that you've really liked that maybe a little bit newer to you, but also maybe one that has been the most welcoming to you in the Texas country music world, who would it be, and what would the song title be that you like from them?
The most welcoming, again, Bree has been unbelievably amazing. Casey has been great. Obviously, Cody has been so supportive, and Cody's, sang on my record sight unseen. I mean, I
Mhm.
just was like, "Hey, man, would you sing on this?" Yes, send me the thing, And we've known each other for a really long time. Bowling for Soup and Cross Canadian Ragweed did a lot of things together back in the day. I'd absolutely love to have. Man, it's hard. I have the old 97s playing a song on the new Bowling for Soup on our second greatest hits. They're guesting on Ohio, which is cool. I'd love to do a song with Randy Rogers. I think that would be fun. I think we could do
Ooh.
a really good beer drinking song. Um, but yeah, and I've got a duet. I'm about to do a duet with Jessica Lynn, who is it Texas country, but a great country artist nonetheless. And so, it's already kind of happening for me. Like
Yeah.
I don't really, I don't really have anybody that I've asked that hasn't done it. So I'm pretty lucky in that regard, as far as that question is concerned. Like it's it'd be hard for me to, I mean, obviously I love Parker McCullough and, man, there're just so many good artists out there.
All right, so we're gonna wrap up this segment. So I was kind of leading into it, but I'm gonna put you on the spot now. I got to a little bit. What artists and tracks should we be coming up next?
What artists and tracks should be coming up next? Well, I'm a selfish person by nature. I feel like we should play Jaret Ray Reddick.
Let's do it.
And let's play my new single, Drunk as It Takes.
Let's do it. All right. We got Jaret Ray Reddick right here, right now. We got a whole lot more coming up with him, but let's do it. Drunk as It Takes right here on Mixed Country 106 and Honky Tonk Saturdays.
And I'll get as drunk as it takes.
Welcome back, Mixed Country 106 and Honky Tonk Saturdays. It's Odie Coyote here, rocking it out with you, but it's not just me today. As you know, we have Jaret Ray Reddick in this, well, not quite in the studio, virtual in the studio. I want to say, one day I'll get you in the studio, though. I would love to invite you out. But anyway,
I would love to do that.
that'd be cool. If you're ever in Iowa, hit me up.
Deal.
Deal. Got it. Cool. But we've been having a really good discussion about your music, how you got into Texas country music, and how your album's been doing, and your influences, the people have been helping you and welcoming you into the Texas country music. But this time, I wanted to ask you about some things kind of in your personal life that you've talked a little bit in other interviews, but I really kind of want to talk about it because for me it was it's been a big part of my life, and whether I want to talk about it or not, I think it's
Yeah.
helpful to help others. And so,
One-
just real fast, I'll share with you kind of just a 30-second elevator thing of where my anxiety was and how it got me to where I was. And that way you kind of see too, and for everyone else, because I'm not going to ask you these questions if I wouldn't ask them myself, kind of thing, right? So something that I was very relatable to you in is growing up, I had a lot of bullying issues, and it developed into a lot of anxiety and even paranoia just because I thought everybody was talking crap about me behind my back, and to the point that I just really couldn't take it. And I did the worst thing you could possibly do. I let it boil up and bottle it up inside until I just burst and just decided to fight people. I decided to just lash out at everybody, and I became the bully that I hated. And ultimately too, because even then I didn't want to talk everybody out or talk to anybody about it, I actually tried to commit suicide twice in my teenage years. And the first time, thankfully, a cop actually stopped me from jumping out of a second-story window at my mom's place because her and I got into a big fight, and she had called the cops, and they came and had to deal with me. And when the cops showed up, I made a beeline for the second-story window. And as I was trying to just quickly open it and just do it, he grabbed my waistband and kind of threw me back. And best thing that ever happened. And I promptly thanked him by punching him in the face, or trying to at least. So
Wow.
that's my
Yeah.
story. I after that, I was told by a judge either I start shaping up or I'm going to be sent to juvenile detention, and had to spend some time away from my mom to deal with all that because I just wasn't safe at home. And I do contribute a lot of it to anxiety because I didn't know how to deal with it and going through a lot of crap. Thankfully, coming out of it, I found a support system and I found people to help me. And I started doing really good in school, went to college, got my degree, and now I'm married and I have a kid, and life's better. It's not perfect. I still have issues. I still have to deal with things. I still have medication and therapists to talk to, but most importantly, I found a support system, people to talk to. So
Yeah.
after sharing that, Jaret, I hope you understand for yourself a little bit about me, and I hope the listeners do as well. Because our past is our past, but we can use, and it may be ugly, it may not be pretty, but we can use it to help others. So let me ask you this, Jaret, how did you start recognizing that you had anxiety issues, and how did those type of feelings and emotions, manifest themselves with you?
So for me, mine was later in life, I was always the funny fat kid. And though, as I think back to things, I probably had some anxiety and some things like that in childhood, but it really wasn't something that really disrupted my life until really I was almost 40 years old before a big change in my life happened. I was getting a divorce and going through a custody battle with my children, and then moving to a different city, and that was questionable whether or not my band would be continuing on or not. And then I got into a new relationship and a new father again, and all of those things, all kind of happening in a very, very short span of time. And as I would talk to my doctor about it, he would say, any one of those things could send somebody spiraling out of control, and here you are experiencing all of them at the same time. So anxiety was the first diagnosis for me. I just spoke to my doctor about it. And because I found myself very unmotivated, it was hard for me to get out of bed in the morning. I could take care of my dogs and my kids, and that was about it. I was doing a terrible job taking care of myself, gaining weight, and drinking a lot. But to kind of speed this story along, I then seeing a therapist, got diagnosed with depression and anxiety. It took me a couple of years to get the medication right, but we did it, and I've changed a few times throughout the years. It's always been beneficial, and I've stayed in therapy. And for me, it was expressing this to other people that was the hardest part. Like I could kind of tell my band about it, and my closest friends, but it wasn't something that I ever really wanted to go public with until a friend asked me to, for a thing called Louder Than Stigma that he was starting. Since now is Foundation 14 here in Dallas, Texas. It's a amazing charity that I work with. The other charity that I am on, I should mention, is Punk Rock Saves Lives. And both do a lot for mental health. But I was just asked to sit down and tell my story. And when I did, first of all, it felt amazing. But secondly, the response to it was so vast and great that and helpful to others. And you're right. It became, so it was just a thing where I was like, this is never going to be a cause for me. And then it became the thing where it was like, this has to be a cause for me. Like, if I don't share my story, I am absolutely, then I'm not giving back. I need to do that. And so even during Bowling for Soup shows, which are very fun and energetic, and I will normally say something about depression, anxiety, and just, tell the audience. I will just tell people, listen, I have anxiety and depression. I'm on meds. I go to therapy. Like, you're not, it can literally happen to anybody if it can happen to me. I was successful in my craft. I had two beautiful kids and a house and just, and a career and all of these things. And again, it's not, it's not something that you have to be ashamed about. And I'm so glad that it's 2022 in some areas. Obviously, there's some things about 2022 that I think are dumb, but the focus on mental health is such a good thing. And I'm just glad that it's crawling from out of under the rocks and that people are actually getting help.
And that's important. So what do you think when you were first even thinking about, like, okay, this has gotten to a point where I don't know what the answers are anymore. I don't know what to do. What were some of your fears about talking to anybody about it? What did you think was going to happen? Obviously, we know what actually happened, but what did you think would happen?
The biggest thing for me really was I really wasn't scared to go to the doctor or to a therapist or any of that stuff. That stuff, I knew that I needed help. I knew something was wrong. I was not me. And now, when you live with it, as you know, for a certain amount of time, I can, when I'm having a day, I can, and I can just tell my wife, listen, I am on a really low tide right now. Just like, I'm sorry if I'm snippy or if I don't seem like I'm paying attention or whatever. And she understands that. My biggest thing was telling the public, because I'm in a funny band, but not my country stuff. That is why you have me on here right now. But Bowling for Soup is a funny band. And I was really worried that people would be like, oh, the funny guy, what are you, depressed because you're famous? Or, and oh, wow, you gained weight, whatever, all of this stuff. And I thought I really did not give the public the benefit of the doubt on that. I was really just thought that it was going to be all negative. And honestly, it has been 99.9999% the other direction. It is almost always, thank you. My goodness, this really helped me. I can't tell you how many DMs I get where it's just like, I heard you talk about this and I made an appointment with my doctor. And that to me is worth the 4 or 5 people that are like, wow, you gained weight, like, oh, you're famous, woe is me kind of thing. I wouldn't trade it. And so, the fear aspect of it went away really fast because I did get that response. And again, it became this thing to where I was like, I don't have a choice. I have to talk about this. I have to.
Yeah.
And I do. And I am.
Were you nervous about taking any kind of medications for it? Like, did you think like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be stoned, or I'm going to turn into somebody that's not me, or I'm just going to become like a drone? No emotion.
My thing isn't really like that because I don't feel like medication affects me the same way as people. Like, I don't get the same. I don't feel like even caffeine, for example, like I don't feel like it does for me what it does for other people. Like some people be like, I have a cup of coffee in the morning and it, and then I'm wired all day or whatever. And like, I'm just like, I have never felt that. So I my thing was I've never really liked taking medicine. I have ulcerative colitis, and I got diagnosed with ulcerative colitis when I was only 19. So for 30 years, I've had to take medicine every day for ulcerative colitis. I'm in remission, by the way. So for the listener, please don't worry. I'm okay. But I, but the medication thing for me was like, oh, so now I've got to take and now I'm on blood pressure medicine, that's hereditary, and then I'm like, okay, so now I've got to take goofballs, to be, so I'm not crazy, and it's just like this medicine cocktail is just getting crazy. And that was really my thing. Like, man, do I want to have to take this many pills a day? Man, I'll tell you though, so I'll full disclosure, I take Lexapro and Effexor. I have a prescription to Xanax, but I never take it, only if I'm like really, really, really in the dumps, like non-functioning anxiety. I can take a 0.5 Xanax and it'll at least just take the edge off, to where I can function. But I take Effexor and Lexapro every single day. I ran out of Lexapro one time and I felt fine. And so I got off of it for 6 weeks, and it takes 6 weeks for that to get out of your system. So here's some more advice, people. If you are on medication, don't stop taking it without consulting your doctor, because I had the worst 2 months ever after that, because getting back on it and trying to get it back into my system, the Lincoln Park line crawling out of my
crawling on my skin.
Yeah, that's what it feels like when I get really bad anxiety, and it was just constant for weeks and weeks and weeks. So I am committed to the medication, and I understand what its purpose in my life is, and so any of those people nervous to take it, you don't start out. They don't just give you enough to make you a zombie. Like, you have to really try, to take enough of those meds. Like, people that abuse it know how to abuse it for they know what they're doing, if you start on a low dose and you go back in 3 or 4 weeks and you tell your doctor how you feel, and then you try something else, and you just keep doing that. There's no magic pill. So it's the right combination and right dosage and the right, medication that gets you through the day. That's the point.
There's two thoughts that I had kind of with that as you're talking, two really important thoughts. One, if you're thinking, oh my gosh, do I really want to take all this medicine? I've already been on it. Do I really need it? Imagine yourself without the medicine. Imagine, ancient times before we had all this stuff. Imagine how you'd feel without it. And you have to tell yourself the comparison. I know you mentioned a little bit of like the cancer thing and all that, but like, I'll share with you briefly. Like, I had a kidney transplant last year. I got a crap ton of pills that I take. If I don't, I die. Plain and simple. Kidney rejects, I'm back on dialysis, and I don't have a very good life expectancy. I know what it's like before the transplant too. And just like you what your life was like going through hell and just thinking about all the crap you got to deal with, and then reaching out for help. And to be clear, pills are not the one and only answer. They never are, never will be. The other part of this is having that support system. You talked about your doctor. You don't have to say names if you don't want to, but who are some of the people that have really been in your life to act as your support system?
Yeah, Ben, that's a great question. My best friend Linus and I have been through a lot together. We're kind of brothers from another mother kind of thing, same age, same musical tastes, and very similar backgrounds. He's always been there for me. My wife is my best friend. I I am always able to just talk about things with her. Open communication in a marriage is wonderful, by the way. If you don't have it, go to counseling, because it's great. Yeah. But my band, Bowling for Soup, I was able to talk to them about it and tell them how I felt. And it's been nice, because honestly, I think some of them have in their life experienced some things, and now they're taking care of themselves and that too. So, band and crew guys. I'm really lucky in that, um, because of, I guess, my career path, or because of just the way that I handle my life, I'm not really alone a lot. And everyone around me that I surround myself with is some sort of a support system. And whether they know it or not, like I'm the boss in all the businesses that I run, but everybody is so important, that is there and around me, and there's value there. And so you can lean on them.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky in that regard.
So let's do this. We'll wrap up this piece. I think that is so cool. And I really hope that our listeners, if you need someone to talk to, please reach out to your friend,
Yeah.
anyone you got. If you're part of a church, just talk to someone there. Talk to someone at work, a coworker. If you're in the bar, hey, you know what? There's probably a reason the guy next to you is drinking too. He's got some stories to tell. Lean on some.
If I could add there, if you don't mind, honestly, this is not a plug. If you need a friend, go to the Bowling for Soup fan page on Facebook and just type in there that you need a friend, and you will have one. And you don't even have to be a Bowling for Soup fan. I mean that. And they are there for you. And it's a community of 10,000 strong people who are positive and awesome. And it's more than just a fan page. It's become, a place to go and share, and it'll blow your mind. Also, punkrocksaveslives.org. I know this is a country station, and I'm talking about my country stuff, but I am on the board of directors of punkrocksaveslives.org, and it's more than just about the music. There's help for you in so many ways. So and as he said, just find a friend that'll listen. And I want to add one more thing, sorry, but if you don't have anxiety or depression or whatever, be open to listening. Just be a good friend. And you've no idea how much that means to somebody.
It really does. Thank you. On those links, I will do my best. Obviously, how this video gets distributed, in some cases, it may not be completely possible, but I'm going to put a link on the screen as you were talking there. So just take a look at those links. If I can put them in the descriptions of the videos when we submit them out and all of that, please click on them. But we will have links as much as we can to everything you just said. I think it's cool. Punk Rock Saves. I don't care. I'd go there. Punk rock's not always my thing. I have to be kind of the mood, but you know what? Like you said, there's going to be people there, and you're going to all have something in common. You both kind of need that support a little bit, and the technology and the social media that we have today makes that possible. As much as we like to, media would like to say that it's a bunch of bullies and there's all this judgment and everything like that, but there's also a lot of really good people to at least get you pointed in the right direction. Yeah. So if we can, Jaret, let's do this. Let's play one of your songs again from the album, Just Woke Up. One of the good ones. It's actually my personal favorite. I really love this song. So let's do it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's do it right here. Go ahead.
Listen to that second verse. You asked me who I shared with. Listen to the second verse of this song, and you hear, and it comes to mind.
Let's do it right here on Mixed Country 106 and Honky Tonk Saturdays.
You're one of the good ones. You shoot straight.
Welcome back to Mixed Country 106 and Honky Tonk Saturdays. Oh my goodness, we've been having just the best time here with Jaret Ray Reddick. And if you don't know who he is, if you're a kid like I was, he was the lead singer and still is for Bowling for Soup. We can talk a little bit about that. But also now has dove straight into the deep end in the Texas country music world and just bringing his own style and flavor to it. And I think this song, let's do this. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about the album and things like that, maybe some stories too. And we're going to tie this into another piece because a lot of you guys already been hearing stories about Jaret throughout the week about the album. But let's see if we can't put a little spin on him this time. So looking at a couple albums here. So for me, let's go ahead and look at this. So for me, it was, when I was thinking about this song, there's a couple ones that were kind of cropped over. One, of course, was Ohio, and then, of course, the Bitch song. Please help me understand. Raven probably could tell me this answer too. Where did the Bitch song come from?
Well, the Bitch song was one of the kind of the first big Bowling for Soup song. We had some radio success here in Texas up until that point. But 90, we started in 94, wrote that song in 98, and then by 99 we had a record deal. And that, wasn't the end of the the grinding, because we didn't have a huge hit until 2003. So I don't know if I've ever been asked that. I will tell you the one funny story that I can tell you about the Bitch song is I wrote one verse about one girl and the other verse about another, so that if either of them ever asked me if the song was about them, I could honestly say no. And it worked out pretty good.
And a lot of these songs are just fun, like Doggone It. And then I do like the song called Songs About Texas,
Yeah.
And then we got a couple other ones here. Let's do Ohio. What made you want to kind of, I wouldn't say rewrite, but kind of mix it in such a way for the country audience? What was special about that song for you?
Well, first of all, that the chorus has come back to Texas. It just made sense to record it into a country fashion. I though I knew that I would not get every Bowling for Soup fan to cross over to country with me, I wanted to at least have some familiarity there, and have something that the just Bowling for Soup fan that just digs our stuff, not follows us every day or whatever, but just likes us, that they might hear that and go, okay, that's kind of cool, and done as a country song. And so that's the reason I did Ohio. The Bitch song, actually, the reason why I did that country was because during the pandemic, I did over 100 online shows, many for myself, many for charity, just pretty much kept myself really busy. And when I would do the Bitch song, I would kind of do it with that country feel, and the audience themselves were like, man, you got to record it that way sometimes. So I kind of just ended up doing it that way. But both those songs, and I'm actually adding a couple of more Bowling for Soup songs to my live show, just because it works really great. And it's one of those things where, again, like the audience will just go, oh, because I tell everybody all the time, every song I write is written on acoustic guitar. It could go one of two ways. And it's been like that for as long as I've been writing songs. Like, it's just, I've been taking the country turn lately.
So this next question, I don't mean to make it like super temperamental, because I don't know if anyone's even asked you this, but okay, so there's Bowling for Soup, and then now there's Jaret Ray Reddick doing country. But is there any animosity? Is there anything between you guys that made you just kind of want to do your own thing solo without including Bowling for Soup? Or how did that, I guess?
Absolutely not. No, we just all have lives outside of Bowling for Soup, and mine is from a creative standpoint. I have side projects galore. I have a project called Jaret and Kelly with my buddy Kelly Dollyrot, who and it's a duets record. I have a band called Jarinus with my best friend Linus. I had a band called People on Vacation for several years. So side projects and other things have always been part of the deal. And look, Gary and Rob, have kids, and Chris has his life. So, Bowling for Soup is as busy as we want to be. And I do the country stuff in the times where I'm not busy doing that. And no, they've been great. I mean, in fact, Gary listens to my album, and Rob is actually in my country band. So
that's right, yeah.
And Chris, he's very, very happy in his life, and I don't think has any interest in being in two touring bands.
Would you like to see yourself and your country career become as big as Bowling for Soup was and kind of still is?
It's so I do think about that. I should say, from a standpoint of Bowling for Soup, what's really cool is just there's a resurgence in pop punk right now. And I realize your listeners, that might not be their world, but our shows are bigger now than they've ever been, but we haven't had a hit since like 2007.
Yeah.
But we do, as you mentioned earlier, High School Never Ends, Almost When We Die, 1985, Punk Rock 101, Jimmy Neutron, Phineas and Ferb, those things, just kind of those hits have stood the test of time. And with the nostalgia thing being so big right now, our shows are huge. I mean, I would love it I think what country offers me is a way to just kind of play music on into my 60s and 70s if I choose to do that.
Right.
I think it'd be a little bit weird being in Bowling for Soup when I'm 70, but I also said that about being 50, and I'm 50 now. So who the heck knows?
Really
Well,
quick, because I hear your voice, and I've heard it on the country album, and it sounds a
Yeah.
lot like you're talking. When I
Yeah.
listen to Bowling for Soup, now granted, I'm probably listening to the record as you might have sounded, more than almost a decade and a half ago.
Yeah.
When the original was coming out. So I still have the albums. Believe me, I do. A lot. I was a Bowling for Soup fan, and I still love country. So you might be surprised how many of our listeners are going to be like, yeah, I still listen to Bowling for Soup, or I know who they are. There's a lot of people who aren't genre stuck. But can I ask you for a favor? This is on the spot, and I didn't talk to you about this before, so feel free to say, no.
Hey, what were you going to ask me about my voice?
Okay. Okay, can you give me just an a cappella sample of the difference in your voice between, let's say, 1985? Because everybody should know that song exactly how you and then now how you would do it today.
Well, I sound the same. In fact, I mean, like, if you can look online on YouTube and hear Bowling for Soup, and everybody's just like, how do you still sound like that? So it's a lot like, I add a rasp to it. And so like if I'm doing I sang last night and stayed up really late, so I'm a little raspy already today. But like, if I were singing country, it's a little smoother and lower,
Yeah.
I could compare your eyes to the hill country sky, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if it's Bowling for Soup, it'd be like, and bring back Springsteen, Madonna, way before Nirvana, it'd be more like that. So it's just a texture thing more than anything.
I got to do this. You guys can't hear, but when you were doing that, immediately her head started banging.
I love it.
Sorry, producer Raven. I know you guys can't hear, or you know what? Forget it. We're going to do this. This is so on the fly, guys. I love on the fly stuff. You guys know this about me because I had to bring her in. I had to do it. Here you go. Raven, how much did Jaret's music back when we were both in school mean to you? And how much is it just so cool to hear him just do one line of 1985 right there?
It's awesome.
Did that just like make your day?
Yes, it did.
I have to admit, Jaret, there was a little bit of selfishness in there. I had to do it for my wife.
Is that what was it? Okay, well, I get it. That was a trick. I stumbled right into it.
I had to ask though, because guys, I don't know how a rock band. I'm imagining Corey Taylor and Slipknot doing country. I want to hear it, but I don't know what it would sound like.
But he could do it. Just think about. If you listen to Stone Sour's biggest hit, it's that acoustic thing that they had, and the texture of his voice was completely different. So it's just something to, like, I just kind of sing from a different spot. I can bring my throat into it a little bit more if I'm doing the punk thing and doing the rasp, and then I sort of just smooth that out. But it's not as huge of a difference, I don't think, like unrecorded. Like, I think I just sound like me. But yeah, man, I mean, I actually had people that I've known for years go like, did you take like voice lessons to get your voice to do different things on the country record? Cause you sound totally different. And I was just like, no, I just sang, it's a totally different feel and vibe.
Yeah, I apologize. I probably shouldn't have thrown you on the spot like that.
I love it. But see, if you come see me at karaoke, I sing like Whitesnake or Bon Jovi or Skid Row.
Living on a Prayer. I want to hear it do Living on a Prayer, but not today, not now. But I want to hear him do Living on a Prayer.
Maybe another time.
Maybe another time.
Yeah, maybe
Thank
another
you,
time.
Raven.
She's saving me. All right.
Thank you, Raven.
Okay, so I guess to kind of wrap things up here, I have a little fun bit that I wanted to do with you because your first track on the album, Just Woke Up, you talk about way more country, right?
Yeah.
Let's put this to the test a little bit. I'm going to pick a line in there that stuck out to me as I've never heard anyone say that in a song they're more country because they know a lot of, or even more than one 80s wrestler.
Okay.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
The next 10 seconds. How many 80s wrestlers can you name, Jaret?
Okay.
10?
Okay,
9?
go.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Kerry Von Erich, Kevin Von Erich, Iceman, King Parsons, Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Rock and Roll Express.
All right, we got it. You forgot one of my favorites, though, and I guess he would be sort of later 80s, but one of my favorites was Jerry Lawler.
Jerry Lawler's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's well, no, he was older than that. He's from he's the one that had the whole thing with Andy Kaufman. So
Yeah.
he's like super old school.
He is, and he came from Mid-South Wrestling Federation. I remember because for me, my dad and I would wake up on a Saturday morning early to watch wrestling. That's what we did.
So we had Wednesday night and Saturday night here. It was World Class Championship Wrestling. So that's where the Von Erichs came from. And see, we didn't even get the World Wrestling Federation until like later in life. So, and then sometimes we would get the one from Georgia with Dusty Rhodes, but it wasn't like on the regular.
Yeah, no, it certainly wasn't. But it was cool. I had to challenge you a little bit. Because
I appreciate that challenge. I actually surprised myself at how fast I rattled them off, actually.
that was fun. Because, I mean, I don't know if there's a definition to be country. I mean, yeah, you probably aren't going to fit the bill if you're driving a Prius, or in this case,
I'm poking a little bit of fun, and I'll give your listeners something that I've never told anybody.
Oh.
I actually don't know every word to the Eminem song Stan. It just rhymed.
Ah, nice. Breaking news from Jaret Ray Reddick. He does not know every word to Eminem's song Stan. No. We're going to have to exploit that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm honestly kidding.
Do not, no.
No. Okay. Well, I think that's about all the time we got. Jaret Ray Reddick, if you haven't heard his album, Just Woke Up, please go out. But Jaret, you told me earlier one of the biggest artists that you were kind of fans of. One, not all, but one of the biggest was?
Bree Bagwell.
Let's do it. Free Man. Right here on Honky Tonk Saturdays and
Mixed Country 106.
You don't get a courtroom.
And then we do all the production underneath, so I'll ramp that in there, and you'll see how all the imaging and all that fun stuff goes in. It's like magic. Well, magic to those who listen, me, it's about an hour of work for 1 second.
Right.
Okay, so we're definitely leaning towards the 40, because I got at least two.
I'm a big talker, so
that's fine.
Yeah.
Me and Jeremy and I were on the phone for an hour and a half for our interview, and it was only supposed to be a 10-minute interview.
Right.
Okay. But I think, honestly, Jaret, we're doing this for you because I'm kind of a big believer in, I kind of have a good sense of when an artist is going to blow up and do something good. And I really, after listening to a lot of your music and hearing your new album, I think you're really going to do something.
Thank you. I'm taking it very, very serious.
That's good.
And, my band is awesome. We just played last night. And it's just, I have a feeling you're right. But either way, like I said, I'm just having a great time.
Okay. The next segment is going to be about the anxiety stuff and kind of drilling into that. It will be much more, and I'd like to go ahead and play your other song, One of the Good Ones, because I think it's really cool that, one of the things we need for like guys like you and me who have anxiety issues, and like for me, I have to take medication for it. I have to see a therapist just because, as you might be able to tell from me talking, I overthink things. I have a really bad habit of that. I'm always like 2 steps ahead of where I should be, but I'm working on it. And but anyway, so one of the things I want to talk about and lead into that is how that song kind of acts as like we're recognizing the people who've been in our support system, been the people we can call at 3 a.m. when craps just hit the fan and you just feel like a total wreck.
Yeah.
And I really do. I would encourage you to be as open with it as you can. Because one of the things, it's cool to say, yeah, I got anxiety issues, and if you got anxiety issues, you should talk for help. But if you're not like really relating to it, I don't think it comes off as genuine. I've heard you talk somewhat deeply about it, but I don't want to push you too far either.
Don't worry, man. I I work. I'm on the board of directors for 2 charities, man. I just you throw me the ball.
On the radio in Springsteen, Madonna, way before Nirvana, there was U2 and Blondie, and music still on MTV. Her 2 kids in high school, they tell her that she's uncool, cause she's still preoccupied with 1985. She hates time, make it stop. When did Motley Crue become classic rock? And when did Ozzy become an actor? Please make this stop!
Stop! Sorry, Jaret. He's not a punk rocker.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Where's the mini skirt made of snake skin? And who's the other guy that's singing in Van Halen? When did reality become TV? Please.